It's Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Corey and Mason.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. I am one of your hosts, as always, Mason Schmidt. Here's my best bud, Corey Knudsen.
Ew.
And we're going to talk about movies. We do the same fucking shit every week, and still we have the same number of subscribers and the same number of viewers on every video or podcast episode, and it's usually just me checking the quality of it. And Corey, you do a great job with editing, and that's all I can attest to. But we're going to talk about movies. We had a couple of new releases that were kind of smaller scale of what came out this past week, and also just us doing a little bit of homework on the previous week of Project Hail Mary and Ready or Not 2. And we also had Daredevil this week, which we did not highlight at all really going into this past week. So we'll talk about that first episode premiere for Season 2 of Born Again. But other than that, Corey, how have you been? What are we drinking today?
Doing better than Tiger Woods. That's
Honestly, when I was in the stairwell of the apartment here, did you see what I sent you?
No, I didn't.
It was of Tiger Woods being like, oh, the line goes a little bit to the right. And then it shows an image of the cops being like, can you just walk on the line, please?
His mugshot is awesome.
It's so, every 2 or 3 years, we're due for Tiger Woods going off-roading drunk.
Yeah. He'd probably have 15 Masters at this point if he just stepped out of an automobile.
Okay, but how many Masters does he have also with his drunk driving record, though?
Let me do a little research.
Because 3 Masters, I'm guessing 3 or 4. I don't know. I don't watch golf that much, so 3 or 4 sounds...
5 times.
5 times. And
Yep.
how many drunk driving arrests?
Well, this one he wasn't drunk. He blew a BAC of 0.0, so he was probably on pills or something.
Oh, so something still is going on.
Something in his system, more than likely.
I think he should still be allowed to golf. Put him in this upcoming Masters.
He could have been, but I don't think he's going to be there. I think he's buddies with Trump, and Trump said he's not going to be in the Masters. So that's a shame, because that would have been a really fun little revenge arc. And just in a couple weekends here, seeing him come out,
could you just
the crowd would be going crazy.
Him driving down a greenway and people just with signs of his mugshot in the background, straight out of Happy Gilmore. That'd be perfect.
That'd motivate me.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'd sign that. I'd run it back and be like, yeah.
You get 6 hole-in-ones. That'd be fantastic. But anyways, we're drinking a little Miller High Life today.
Yeah.
Fantastic little beverage. Great can. Love it. But yeah, you mentioned Daredevil Born Again Season 2 premiered this past week. The first episode came out. Born Again Season 1 came out last year. Kind of a Season 4. However you want to classify this after the 3 seasons of Netflix Daredevil, which we both really love. That show is fantastic. And Born Again Season 1 was okay, but you could really feel that it was 2 different creative teams, where they started out with the initial team, and then it was kind of going in a direction where they weren't referencing anything from Netflix era, were kind of doing their own thing. And then the writer strikes happened, and then they brought in a bunch of other creators that had worked on stuff in the Netflix era before, and that was, I think it was the first episode and then the last 2 maybe, where they kind of course corrected, and that was all the new stuff that they filmed. And you can feel how a little choppy it was throughout that whole season. So I'm excited for this season because it is that new creative team, and it seems like it's their vision through and through. And I think you can feel that from the first episode too, even though it's not a groundbreaking first episode of the season. It does feel like we have a clear path, and it feels like, all right, we have Karen in the mix, we have Matthew Lillard comes in, which is really fun to see. I'm excited to see what role he plays. Obviously, Kingpin and Daredevil are going at it. So I enjoyed the first episode. I'm excited to keep watching through the show. I don't know that we'll do reviews every week. Maybe next week, because there's 2 episodes coming out. But after that, we may do just a season wrap-up. Unless there's something to talk about each week. Maybe when Jessica Jones pops up. Who knows when that'll be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it, though. I mean, I think that obviously the whole cast is still great. Charlie Cox is awesome. I'm convinced he's blind, actually. I think there's no way he's not. Well, he's a little blind, right?
I don't know. I do love the aspect ratio shifts that they do whenever they focus in on him, and you can kind of get in with his mindset, what he's actually being able to see and visualize, even though he can't see. I think that's a great way of that's one of the best additions, I think. Because I don't remember it being in the Netflix series of them really doing that.
No.
If not, so that's one of the biggest perks, I think, with this Born Again kind of revival with it. And similar to what you said, the first season of Born Again was kind of rocky. You can feel a little bit of the seams kind of showing through. I do like some of the more episodic episodes where it's just a one-off, that bank heist episode. I'm I kind of like these almost one-off vignette stories within this overarching story. But this one does feel a little bit more in line with the Netflix series. And we have more of that Karen Page influence, which I really like. Deborah Ann Wool is awesome. I love her. She's also very attractive. So great to look at as well. But I love, is it Aliet Zurer who plays Vanessa?
Yeah.
She, like, that scene where it's Matthew Lillard talking to Fisk and her, and you could just feel like, yeah, Fisk is like, he's the mayor, and he's kind of in charge, but Vanessa just feels like so in control of every situation going on. Like, Fisk, or Kingpin is her little fucking errand boy, it feels like, and I just like that power dynamic that they have.
That's one of my favorite parts from Born Again Season 1 was when Fisk was gone in, like, for Hawkeye and Echo and all that stuff. She kind of took over the crime ring.
Yeah.
And I really like that dynamic because as he's doing the mayor stuff and having to be the public face, so to speak, she's still running things behind the scene with that whole Red Hook facility and that, all the different crime groups and stuff.
I would be fine with, because I didn't love it in Born Again Season 1, that, like, BB Urich's, like, reporting on the streets little, and they start almost with that in this. I'm like, I could do away with that storytelling gimmick, but I like kind of how they're using it to hint at, like, shit's not kind of really as it seems. Everything isn't as good as it could be in New York, and he's not a great mayor, but I'm excited to see where this goes. I like the action that we've gotten in this episode, the big opening on the ship, as well as the apartment fight scene. I think were relatively pretty well handled. And I like what they hint at with, like, the fading moments of this episode of someone kind of coming in and rescuing Murdoch in the final moments of that fight. And I'm like, thinking, this might be Punisher. I didn't know if he was going to be in this season. It's probably not. And I like what that potential alliance could be, or the nature of that. So, yeah, I'm pretty sold on it. It already I feel more at ease with this season, even being one episode in, versus all of last season of Born Again, where I was just like, I don't know, like, it was kind of case by case with episodes, but I feel a little bit more at ease going into this season. I just having that consistent team overarching throughout a full season, and however many, I don't know how many episodes this season, is it still 8?
I think it's 8
episodes.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it, so I can't wait to kind of see how this goes, and I'm excited to see why the release of these next 2 episodes together. What's the story reason, or if there's a point to that.
Yeah, to the BB report you kind of mentioned, I was kind of the same way the first season. I'm like, all right, it's fine. I kind of like the tone that they're taking this season, where, like, the city is, Fisk has his anti-vigilante task force. It's in, like, martial law. It's all locked down. And the BB report she's making is, like, presenting it as this very optimistic, like, everything's fine. Like, there's no more crime in the city. But then you see, like, graffiti in the back or whatever. And I like later in the episode, it's like a parody of that, or like I don't even know what to call it, but like the different version of it where somebody has a Fisk mask on and they're, like, making fun of it.
That I did like.
Yeah, which, like, we don't really know who that is yet. Like, I don't know if it's BB working with somebody else to do that.
Little Gandolfini.
Yeah, maybe, who knows. But I enjoyed that. Also, in a kind of blink and you'll miss it type of thing, they did mention Val, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, in Thunderbolts and a lot of the shows.
I missed it. When did that
It was
happen?
in Fisk's office when Matthew Lillard comes in.
Okay.
And then one of I forget who it was, one of the city guys, he gets a call on his phone. He's like, oh, all right, yeah, I'll do that, Miss DeFontaine. And he says that.
Oh,
So,
I missed that entirely.
Because I think she was the head of the CIA, so, like, maybe Matthew Lillard works in the CIA or kind of works with her. So, again, like, those are the kind of, like, wider MCU connections I like when it's a quick little line. The bank episode from the first season, while I do kind of enjoy it as a one-off thing, it felt very much like, all right, let's introduce Kamala Khan's dad, and let's do this. I'm like, okay.
It felt like it was trying too hard to tie into other things.
Yeah.
Like the Netflix Daredevil show, which it wasn't really a part of the MCU, so they were a little bit more coy with their kind of shout outs to the greater MCU of, like, the event in New York.
Yeah,
and just like shit like that, and you're like, okay, the Avengers. Right. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, I'm excited to see just how this kind of develops. I also am more interested, like, if we get a season 3, which is already being rumored, what is Vincent D'Onofrio as Fisk? What is his kind of impact going to be throughout this season? Is he still going to carry over as that main villain? Because I've seen reports of D'Onofrio being like, I'm not really in season 3, at least to the magnitude that I am in previous seasons and iterations of this Daredevil show. So I'm interested to see kind of like maybe a closing the chapter on Fisk, and especially him as mayor, and to see how this coincides or leads into Punisher One Last Kill, and also Spider-Man, as those kind of release dates kind of go one and one with one another. Daredevil Born Again, I think, wraps up that first week in May, and then we did just get released Punisher One Last Kill, that special presentation from Marvel, is going to be releasing on May 12th. So, like, I think it's maybe the end of the week of that last episode of Daredevil, so we'll have kind of that little bridge and then tiptoeing into Spider-Man. So I'm like, I wonder what the current state of New York will be after this second season of Born Again. So I'm excited just to see what happens.
Yeah, I think initially the Born Again season 2 was going to end on May 12th.
Okay.
The last episode, so maybe that's why they're doing the 2 episodes this
Pulling
week,
it forward.
and then doing Punisher, and then we get Spider-Man. But yeah, I agree. I'd kind of be cool with moving past Fisk, even if he doesn't die, like him being in jail or something. But just having a different villain come in for season 3 and other seasons going forward. If we do another Jessica Jones season or something like that, that'd be cool. But yeah, really looking forward to that, and gotta love Vincent D'Onofrio. Vanessa, I'm the mayor.
And I think the guy, whoever's doing that impression of him in that little newsreel video, I'm like, this guy does a good impression of Vinny doing this. Yeah. So this is great. I'm also like, now I'm like, what happens to Matt Murdock? Like, is he going to be in Spider-Man? Like, if Frank's there, why isn't Matt there? Like, what's going to happen? So, just kind of some things up in the air as to, like, I don't know where things are going to lead to.
We've got a fun little role of Daredevil, Punisher, Spider-Man, Doomsday. Like, that's a good little, like, leading into one another.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And Marvel hopefully will just gain momentum going into Doomsday. So, that should be good. I was able to check out, with the slower past release week, the one film I did mention that my wife really wanted to go see was Forbidden Fruits. This is a feature directorial debut coming from director Meredith Alloway. This film stars Lily Reinhart, which I've never really been exposed to much of her work. I know my wife said she was on Riverdale. I didn't touch that show with a 10-foot pole. But Victoria Pedretti is in the show, and I fucking love her and like all the Mike Flanagan partnerships that she's done with Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor. Alexander Shipp, Gabriel Union, Emma Chamberlain is weirdly in this as well, and Lola Tung. And this film takes place at a mall where a person named Apple leads a secret witch cult with her coworkers Cherry and Fig, and then they have a new hire named Pumpkin that comes in and questions their sisterhood, forcing them to confront their inner darkness or meet violent ends. If you've seen The Craft, it handles a lot of like the witchery, or I don't know if that's a word. The witchery. Nice. It handles it in a similar aspect of like, I don't know if there's actual like witchcraft happening in this film, or if it's just coincidence or weird things happening at convenient times. They're not like super out front with a lot of it. But I will say the script of this movie was, I think, really funny and pretty sharply written. I think the directing of this film is a bit lackluster, to where I was telling this to Corey before we started recording. It felt like every take and every cut of a scene included within this film was like a rehearsal take, where they're like, okay, next time with more energy. And we just didn't see that take where they had more energy, because it just felt kind of lackadaisical, a little like hindered by just like not a lot of oomph or momentum or urgency with anything that was going on. It just felt kind of flat, but the script was still really funny. So I'm watching this movie being like, I don't think that this movie is well made, but I'm also laughing a lot. Like, I think the script is really good here. So I think maybe potentially with a more established director, or if Meredith Alloway continues on her directing career, maybe she'll kind of blossom a little bit more, get more kind of nuance to her direction and a little bit more kind of skill to her craft, to where, okay, you can make good films. Because I don't think that this movie's necessarily, like, good. I think it's a fine enough movie. It's just the script really worked for me. And the interplay between these kind of four core characters of being witches at this store called Free Eden, which is like almost like Aerie, American Eagle Aerie type store. But it's all these girls that belong to this so-called coven, and they're just upselling everything that they sell to customers of like, hey, this little tablecloth, it's $400 just because you want it right now. Like, just weird shady shit. Victoria Pedretti really stole the show for me in this movie. One, she's the actress I was the most interested in seeing in this movie because I love her and I love her current or previous works. But also her character of Cherry is kind of like the ditzy, dumb blonde who has like a little bit of a sad backstory, but she has some of the funniest scenes in this movie where I was just like actually laughing out loud. And it was also a really interesting viewing experience because I didn't know really if anyone was going to go see this movie or be in the theater with me and my wife. And we had like this probably like late 60s to 70s couple where the man in this relationship was laughing at everything, and then the woman was just like, nope. And I was just like, I want to know more about you guys.
Maybe a date he's trying to impress her, maybe? He's like, this is a fantastic
70s,
movie.
maybe? Yeah. Fucking get out of the assisted living home? It
was old people.
Old people.
Okay,
like late, like,
wow.
like 7-year-old people. So I was just like, interesting. Why does this man really like this? Oh, Victoria Pedretti's tits are out? That's why he's happy. But the movie itself was kind of fun. It is, I think, an hour and 40 minutes. I think with the lack of energy and urgency to a lot of the stuff that's going on and some of the awkward timing of scenes, it makes the movie feel longer. This movie, if you're going to keep it at that pace and at that momentum and energy and all that, I think this film probably could have been 15, 20 minutes shorter. It could have been like, I think a sweet spot would have been like an hour and a half, hour and 25. But I had a good enough time. It's not my favorite or least favorite of this year so far, but it fits within like the Lisa Frankensteins, kind of like the Heathers feel and like dark humor, and it feels almost in line with what I view and how I feel about the film The Craft. So I had a good enough time watching this movie. My wife actually really loved it. She keeps quoting this movie over the past couple of days. We saw it Friday night, and she's still kind of saying lines, which a lot of the lines are just absurd bullshit, but it's just so played straight and on the nose that it's just like hilarious. So I think some of the comedic timing is really good. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but if you like movies like Heathers or The Craft or like more witchy type stuff, Practical Magic gets a couple of references in this movie. I think that this is a fun enough movie to go check out in theaters.
So this past week, I caught up on a few things after coming back from my trip. There's a few things from last weekend I didn't get to see that I watched this week. One of them was Ready or Not 2, but in preparation for that, I rewatched Ready or Not, because the only time I'd seen it was in theaters with Mason back in 2019, which, what a fucking awesome year for movies.
Oh, yeah.
It was just amidst a lineup that maybe in another year this would have been close to my top 10 or like in my honorable mentions maybe.
Not?
But yeah.
Oh, yeah, I love this movie.
But just with 2019, that was just everything was working that year. Mm-hmm. That movie was such a surprise. I remember going into it being like, this could be okay, and then being like, wow, that was really fun. Like, this is a great movie. And it comes from Matt Bettinelli, Olpin, and Tyler Gillette, also known as Radio Silence, who've been putting out great movies for the past few years with Scream 5 and 6, Abigail, and then obviously the Ready or Not movies.
And this was like their first venture as a team, I feel like, that I at least remember.
Yeah, they had a few, I think like some VHS movies they directed.
Yeah, they worked on some of the anthology
and then,
ones, yeah.
Like Southbound, I think, was sort of an anthology type thing, which I haven't seen. But the thing that I love most about Ready or Not is how efficient it is, where it's a concept of Samara Weaving gets married to this guy, and she's at his family's estate, and basically after they get married, they're like, all right, you have to play this game, and if you pull the card that's hide and seek, then we're all going to try and kill you.
Yeah.
That's the concept. And they give a little bit of backstory, a little bit of lore for like the family, and like the family's like a devil worshipping family and all this stuff, but they don't dig into it too much. They give you enough where it's like, we're just a weird fucked up family, you need to survive, and that's it. And the movie gets into it really quickly. Samara Weaving is great in that movie. That's one of the first big things I remember seeing her in and being like, oh, she's really good. She's not just the Margot Robbie lookalike that everybody says. The supporting cast is great. Adam Brody's really fun. He's not like fully committed to the family. He's kind of like, I'm gonna have a drink while you guys are like hunting her.
Yeah. He's like embarrassed to be a part of this. He's embarrassed to be associated with it, and he doesn't believe it to the degree that the rest of the family. So he's just like, God damn it! Like, I'm sorry about my family.
He sees her in a room, and he's like, I'll give you a 10-second head start. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna call out right now, but whatever. And then you have like Henry Cerny, Andy McDowell, just a really fun supporting cast to fill it out. Some really fun kills. Just a brief, quick movie that's really entertaining. It was a big surprise. So when they announced that they were making a sequel, I was like, I don't know. The ending shot of that original movie is so kind of iconic to me in a weird way. But this second movie, Ready or Not, I don't know what it's called really, but in the movie, it's Ready or Not, Here I Come.
No 2.
Yeah, No 2. But then on like IMDb, it says Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, which is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Just Ready or Not, Here I Come. It's between that and Now You See Me, Now You Don't. We've had a few of these little kitschy titles.
The marketing team's like, guys, I did it. It's like James Cameron putting the S on Alien, like, this is it. That's how they feel. They're like, I did it.
Like, you guys are not going to believe this.
You guys wait until you hear what I did.
So Ready or Not 2 takes place right after the events in the first movie picks up, as she's sitting on those steps smoking a cigarette after the family blows up in that first movie. Spoiler alert, sorry. But this movie, I was hoping for just like a fun time. I didn't expect it to kind of have that same magic, and it doesn't.
Or the charm, really, yeah.
Yeah, just because like that shock value of the first one is always going to kind of be up there for me. And this movie does what a lot of sequels do, and it makes it a lot bigger. It dives into the lore. It adds more characters. It does everything that it typical sequel stuff. And I think it's very okay. I was actually kind of disappointed by it a little bit. I guess it just, my main problem is that it tries to build up the lore and mythology of, like, in the first movie it was just one family, but then in the second one we learn it's this council of families, very reminiscent of the John Wick franchise, which I think a lot of people have made that comparison, but that's a part of the reason why the first John Wick will always be my favorite, because it was just simple, it gave you enough information. But then in the previous movies, it's like, well, there's these council members, there's these rules, and then if you do this, then you do this, and then these people are actually involved here. And you're like, fuck, this is
Pigeons
a lot.
are a big reason in John Wick 2.
It's like you have to pull this card, do a sword fight, and then do this thing at the Eiffel Tower, and then do a gunfight with a musket, and then be in the desert, then that doesn't really matter. Anyways, it's sort of a similar thing here, where just there's families, and they're trying to vie for this high seat at the council now that the family from the first movie died. And it just, I don't know, it kind of bogged it down for me, and how the first movie was so efficient, this one took a long time to get into, like, the actual hunting and killing of people. And even, like, the kills and the, like, hunting of Samara Weaving and her sister comes in this movie, played by Catherine Newton. It wasn't as fun to me. Like, it just wasn't as enjoyable. I don't know, I just, the kills are more memorable in the first movie. I don't really remember much from this new one.
No. The only one I somewhat remember is the previous fiance of Alex that comes in, and she's wearing a wedding dress, and she's like, you took who should have been my husband.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the only dynamic in this film where I was like, I like this part. And that's really it. Because I went in with like some little expectations just because I really love that first one. And similar to you, it's charming. It is almost iconic to me now. And I knew right away that I probably wasn't going to like this movie when they play off of that ending sequence, which is now iconic to me as well. From that first movie of her sitting on the stoop smoking a cigarette, you get the police siren lights and the house is burning behind her. And then that's how this movie opens, but you can feel like the CGI overtake. You can feel like the background of having that actor transposed and in a similar-ish setting to try and capture and just carry on the remainder, like back half of that scene and getting her into an ambulance and all that shit. And I was just, as soon as it snapped into that, I was like, I feel like it's not it. I feel like this isn't going to be it for me. And I think, similar to what you said, it's just less efficient in how it sets up the story, but everything it's setting up is repetitive and done better and previously in the first film that came out 6 years ago. So I'm like, what made you guys think you needed to make this movie 7 years past that first film? Like, why is this coming out now? Like, I do like the addition of Catherine Newton in concept, but the characters between Samara and Catherine Newton, their budding sisters and their issues with each other, boils down to the same argument that they have 4 to 5 times throughout the entire runtime, as to like them doing a will they won't they get along this entire movie, just because Catherine Newton is, 3 years younger maybe than Samara Weaving's character, and she's like, you abandoned me, you left me in foster care. She's like, I turned 18, I went to college. And she's like, you left me. She's like, you're not my responsibility. Like, I'm 18. Why would I be tasked with raising a 15-year-old kid sister? Like, that's not my thing. Like, I don't need to be taking care of you the rest of your life. Like, and I wasn't abandoning you. I was gonna come back for you, but I'm 18. I need to figure shit out first before I can circle back and help you, because I need to help myself. They have that argument, and usually, like, kind of resolve the argument, but then just reopen it, like, 5 minutes later, and I'm like, didn't we just shut the fucking book on this argument?
Yes.
Like, how are we still mad about this right now? So, like, I don't know. This movie is a mixed bag to me. I didn't hate watching it. I will say the guy sitting next to me, and I've had similar viewing experiences of a guy ordered every single, like, oven-made food at the movie theater. Like, pretzel bites, 2 hot dogs, like, maybe
tenders.
a pizza, tenders, nachos. And this dude is scarfing down and like the air is just fighting through the seams of the food in his throat, and he is burping, and I can smell carnival hot dogs, and I'm just like, this is gonna make me throw up. Not only that, I have this couple next to me that, again, maybe like a 50-year-old couple, and the woman in this couple is talking the entire time. Oh no, oh don't do that, oh you're so stupid, oh she's so dumb, oh he's so ugly. And I turned to her, 10 minutes left in this movie, just now fed up, and I'm like, please just be quiet. And she was so offended that they got up and left. 10 to 5 minutes left. They left after I said that to her. I was like, what is going on? So I'm trying to separate that viewing experience, which was not great, from this movie that I also don't think is that good. I think the premise and it just doing the sequel shit of just bigger. Let's expand out. And kind of what you brought up with the John Wick films. I like the first John Wick film the best. When you get to John Wick 2 and they introduce all the inner workings of the Continental, I'm like, you're kind of losing me here a little bit. Oh, now Lawrence Fishburne works with the pigeon people. All right, I don't like this that much. But it is just repetitive of better ideas that were set out in that first film. I liked the characters more in that first film too. Like the shitty brother-in-law that's not good at this, and he's just like, how to use a crossbow, sitting in the bathroom. And then like the druggy daughter that's just like snorting cocaine and fucking things up every time. I'm like, there's so much good humor in that one that doesn't carry over into this film. And also like the idea of Elijah Wood being in here, I liked him as like the grand game master. I thought that was the best addition to this. But like Sarah Michelle Gellar, I'm like, you don't really like, anyone could have been you. Like, you being in this film doesn't really bring much aside from like, oh, it's Buffy, guys, look at her, it's Daphne, like, yay. Like, it didn't work that well. And I think, honestly, a lot of the performances, I think Samara Weaving's performance in this film isn't as good as in the first one. I think it's just a little, like, it just feels tired to me. I do think, back to the first one and how great that film is, there's a scream that she has in that movie as she finally gets up out of a chair and has a gun pointed at the family, and it like reverberates in the theater and it like echoes. That is the best film scream ever. I stand by it. It is the best, and they almost kind of dialed back in this movie. I'm like, nope, don't touch it. It is perfect in that first movie. And I love the simplicity of that first one about not over-explaining it. Now we get everything over-explained, and also just like a lot of rules thrown in like the latter moments of like, oh, well, if you marry him, they won't kill you. If you do this, then you're fine. Here's this little kind of loophole. It's just like, this is so poorly written. It was just kind of a bunt. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah, I think the whole movie is not well written at all. Just from the dialogue of the sisters, like you mentioned, it's just so repetitive and like, you left me, and it's like, okay, we like you said, we've done this before.
We've established this.
We've done this. And really, like, the first act is kind of setting up all this lore and building up these families. The middle act is kind of the hunt and the kills and all that. The last act of the movie just drags for me.
Yeah.
Like, it gets to the part where it's like, well, you can actually marry this person. Then we go through this whole like ritual, this Satan ceremony. I'm like, I don't mind how the movie wraps up, I guess, but just like all that I didn't care about. As far as like Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattasy, their brother and sister, I thought they were the best of the kind of supporting cast. They had the most to them, I guess. Everybody else, like Nestor Carbonell and like Kevin Durant's very underused in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But like a lot of other people, like there's characters and then there's like kids of characters that have to sub in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care about any of you, really.
I will say the only aspect to like the world building that they establish of like while they're going through the hunt, it's the first person in that family's bloodline that gets the right to go hunt. But then once they die on the field, if they die, then the next person in the bloodline has to fill in. I did like that aspect of like the guy that was now called to go serve because his dad or whatever died before him, and he's just like, I don't want to do this. Like, can someone else, like, I'm married. Can my wife go? You can have all of our belongings. You're in charge. Go out there. And I liked that aspect, and that was the only thing in the story building or, like, the branching out where I was like, oh, this is kind of funny. Like, we're doing something fun here. Like, interesting. That's it. I do, like, Sarah wasn't the best for me. Like, it's cool to see her in this, but she doesn't do much. I do like her brother, Sean Atosi, or whatever his name is. I liked his portrayal because I'm like, you're fucked up. Like, you are bad. Like, everyone in that first film has, like, this air of likability. Even Andie MacDowell, like, she's, like, a cold, hard bitch in that first movie, but she is, like, still, I'm like, you have, like, this charm to you. Where Sean Atosi in this, he is just a fucked up maniac. Like, this man is scary. So I kind of liked having, like, you are, like, the ultimate villain, really, to this two-part saga now. But I also really enjoyed the little snippet of David Cronenberg. Again, it's not really like anyone could have done that, but it's that you brought David Cronenberg into this franchise. Oh, it's kind of cool. And then he gets snuffed out by his kids with a pillow. It's like, oh, all right, you're gone. Same with Kevin Durant. What you've seen of him in the trailers, that's his entire performance in this movie before he blows up. And then all the jokes just feel recycled. When people start popping into blood little water balloons and just ejaculating blood onto everyone. Like, there was one line where Catherine Newton, like, it happens to her again, where someone blows up in front of her face and she's got blood all over her, and Samara Weaving's like, what? She's like, I'm just not used to people combusting all over me. And I was just like, okay, that's like a fine line. But that's it. Like, even the best aspects of the movie, I'm like, it's fine. So it's just, if that's the ceiling, the movie's not that good.
Yeah. A lot of the humor didn't work for me in the movie. One line that is very random and, like, I don't know that anyone else laughed at it, but there's a, like, fat Asian kid that's on his iPad, and he's just, like, one of the descendants of these people, and he's, like, waiting in line to, like, go out there. And they're all, like, having this conversation about, like, they're like, oh, hail Satan, all this stuff. And they're, like, mid-conversation, he's in the background just, fuck yeah! on his iPad, and he's like, oh, sorry, hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
He goes back to his iPad, I'm like, that's funny.
That's fine.
I don't know. I also had not a bad theater experience, but just a funny thing in the lead up to the movie in the trailers. There's at the Imagine theaters they have this Rolex ad with Zendaya, and
so odd.
Which, like, they have that for James Cameron too,
and they have I think a Leo one too,
where it's just like they're showing their film career, and then it's just like also Rolex, but
yeah,
whatever. In like the in the voiceover for Zendaya's thing, there's a part where she's like, yeah, like I grew up in this industry, I've had a lot of experience here, and she's like, I really want to like suffocate people with my art, and somebody was like, I wish you would. Or she was like, I want to suffocate you, and they're like, yeah, wish you would. That kind of made my day. Just some dude. Sorry. I really enjoyed that. That was probably the highlight of my Ready or Not to theater experience. As Mason's trying not to spit on his fucking water. Swallow it, bud. Yeah, swallow.
Honestly, you go high five that guy. Oh my god.
Yeah, I should have found him.
This is completely separate to watching Ready or Not 2. Allie and I took my dog for a walk yesterday just because it's starting to get nice out in Minnesota. We can wear short sleeves and shorts finally. And we're walking, and I'm like, that guy's wearing like this blue and orange jersey. I'm like, he lines up behind me and Allie as we're walking, and Allie's walks pretty slow because she's like 5'2". So I'm like, oh, here, let's get out of this guy's way. And he's crossing me. I'm like, is that a Blue Mountain State jersey from the show Blue Mountain State? And he's like, fuck yeah, it is, brother. And he just gave me knucks, and he was like, good looking out, like, hell yeah, like, and walks away, and Allie's like, God, how simple it is to be a boy and become friends with other guys. I'm like, he's wearing a Thad Castle jersey from Blue Mountain State. That show's awesome.
Sweet.
And just, I love, like, the just, oh, hell yeah. Thanks, brother. Like, it's just perfect interaction. That interaction made my week. It was better than all the movies I watched this week.
Good. No, it is easy, man. Find one thing to relate on. You're like, oh, sports team?
Wear a sports jersey? I'm like, fuck yeah.
100%. So, anyways, Ready or Not 2. Kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
If you like the first movie, I think there is still some enjoyment here. It's not an awful movie, but it definitely is a step down for both of us.
I do think it's radio silences of the films I've seen, their worst.
I would agree, yeah.
What, they did Scream 5 and 6, Ready or Not, Abigail, at least, and Ready or Not, and that's just the way I...
Yeah, I haven't seen their earlier stuff, but yeah, I would agree that this is my least favorite of the things I've seen from them. Another thing I caught up on, which is the just talk of the town right now, Project Hail Mary. You talked about it last week. You were kind of mixed when you first saw it.
Yep.
We'll get into your thoughts because you rewatched it this week. But I went and saw it on a really good screen. The Imagine EMX, the sound, everything was fucking awesome. Like, I want a really good quality for this movie. And that's where I'm going to start off, is the positives here, where... The visuals in the movie, Greg Fraser's cinematography is fucking fantastic. It's even not like in the big space scenes or the colorful, like the pink scenes or like the green planet, I forget, Tau Ceti or Adrian, yeah, that's what they call it. All that stuff's great, but even in just like scenes where Ryan Gosling's sitting in kind of a tunnel and Sandra Hüller's talking to him, there's little things like that where it's just the lighting is so great, and it's he's just so fucking talented, obviously on the Dune movies and the Batman and everything. So that was honestly my biggest praise of this movie, and why I would, even after I get through everything else, why I recommend seeing this movie in theaters, because it looks fucking fantastic.
Honestly, that comment alone makes me want to go see it for a third time. Like, just the way this film looks, it is awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really great to just visually look at. I think the score by Daniel Pemberton is really great. There is a section of this movie that maybe is my favorite. It's a fishing sequence, so to speak. The track on the score is called Time Go Fishing, which is like Rocky's kind of way he speaks. But that sequence was really great, and it kind of reminded me of the Interstellar docking sequence. Not as good, and a lot of people have been comparing Interstellar to this movie. It's not, Project Hail Mary is not as good. Not close for me.
Not as good as The Martian either.
No, but yes, I will agree with that. But that sequence itself, it was like the theater, you could just feel, was like silent and stressed, and like the
everyone's asshole just puckers.
The sound cuts out at a certain point where somebody's head just fucking bangs off a control panel, and you're just like waiting to see what happens, and the tension, the build-up. I was like, this is a great sequence. I love this. I guess I didn't really talk about the story at all, but like Ryan Gosling, he plays a science teacher who kind of joins this mission to stop from the sun is dying. There's this mysterious substance that's killing the sun, this kind of bacteria, and he joins this crew to try and stop that. He goes on a sort of interstellar journey to figure out how to cure the sun and save the Earth. And along the way, you know, he meets Rocky, which I guess going into the trailers, when everyone was talking about the trailers, they're like, Rocky is like such a huge spoiler, or like people were saying they spoil things in the trailer. And I guess that surprised me, because Rocky's such a huge part of this movie.
He is, yeah.
That it didn't, like, I guess that didn't really bother me, and I feel like you've read the book, and Rocky...
I read the book, but I didn't read the book until I saw the trailer. And I experienced the same, like, when I first saw the trailer and Rocky was shown, and people were like, oh, why are they exposing that? Because it is, like, between, like, a third of the way through the book to a half point. I think it's probably closer to a third when Rocky's introduced.
Yeah.
And it changes the story, but it's, like... He's a massive part of the movie and of the book, so I've kind of gone back on that where I'm like, it's fine that he's in the trailer. He is a pretty big presence in the movie and the book, so I'm like, it's fine. You're not spoiling anything.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. But to speak on Rocky, I think that Ryland Grace, the character that Ryan Gosling plays, Ryland Grace and Rocky, they have such a fun dynamic. They have such a fun relationship. It's a fun little back and forth as they're trying to figure out from two different worlds how to solve this problem. Kind of the communication barrier, the language barrier there of they're trying to communicate with a clock and trying to communicate with a tape measure and all this stuff. Like, I like that process, and I wish there was more of that in this movie. And I think you maybe touched on it last week where, quiet, I don't read.
No, but that is a complaint I still have. That is one of the best parts in the book, is when they're trying to establish a spoken language that they can both understand. And in the movie, it's maybe 5 minutes of screen time. In the book, it's like 30 pages. So if you're doing like a 1-to-1 for like a script or a screenplay, like a minute per page typically, they kind of gloss over a lot of that. And it's a thing where in the book they are establishing words like every other interaction they have of like, oh, we don't have a word for that, let's add it to the dictionary, let's add it in. In this movie, you get it a couple times with the word brave, where Rocky's like, I don't know what word mean. What word for caring for others? You're doing something for the betterment of others. He's like, brave. Okay. Like, they do it a couple times, but in the book, they just have way more time spent and dedicated to establishing the communication between the two, and I was like, I miss that still in this movie. Right.
And I think that's a big kind of, to get into my negatives, is I wanted more of the kind of scientific stuff and making it accessible, like The Martian did really well. We talked about that movie last week, and I feel like this movie didn't dedicate enough time to that, even though this movie is really long. And I think this movie felt really long to me. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I it also, to me, has multiple endings, which I haven't read the book, so don't be like, well, that's how it is in the book. And I get it. I understand. I know.
And I'll tell you, the ending in the book is similar to the movie, and I don't like it in either situation.
Yeah, it's just, to me, it's like, all right, it has like a kind of sweet point where it ends, and it's like, oh, that's a touching moment. And then it goes, and then it comes back, and then it also does another thing, and then we go to another thing, and I'm like...
You're talking about the Talmiba. That, at that point, when they're both going their own separate ways, kind of.
Yeah.
That when you're like, in the movie, that's like a good stopping point, right?
Yeah.
100%. But in the movie, that's, again, a negative of mine on a rewatch still, how fumbled that aspect of the story is. Because then, like, he's like, oh... Talmiba, that's how we defeat the astrophage. Oh, hey, it's a good thing we have these xenonite chambers, breeding chambers, that can kind of make Talmiba so we can defeat the astrophage. That shit is so thrown in last second in the movie. In the book, it is like a good 40 pages of them trying to figure out how to use what they found on Adrian to defeat the astrophage. And it's just like a throwaway sentence of like something they almost forgot to set up earlier in the movie. He's like, yeah, these genetic testing tubes that we made with Rocky's fucking science. It's just like, you guys didn't show that at all. You didn't establish that at all. It's just so like last second, oh, yeah, remember that we didn't show you? Mm-hmm. We did that. And then, like in the book, Talmiba and like the exploration, the studying of it, it's handled so much better to where that is such a necessary, like, there's probably like 80 more pages left of story of them solving it and getting to the end. Whereas it's brought up with 15 minutes left in this movie of, oh, there's a leak in the Talmiba and now all my astrophagian fuel is gone. And it's like, again, I feel bad comparing this so much to the book, but in the movie it does feel so like, I feel like we were winding down. I feel like the movie's almost over. Why are we starting up another conflict again? Like, it feels so last second, like, fumbled, and it pisses me off still as a fan of both the movie and the book. I'm like, you horribly fucked that up. You shanked it. Like, come on, guys.
It felt really weird to me, and just, again, coming from somebody who just watched the movie and judging it based on that, I also felt... I never felt the stakes of this movie. I never felt like, wow, the world's ending. It just felt like something people kept telling me and saying, hey, this is going to happen. And then we kind of see a scene at the end with Sandra Hüller on the boat, like going through ice caps and stuff. But it's like, I don't... Like, and I think a part of that, too, is the tone that they take in this movie, which, with Lord and Miller directing it, I think they're good directors. I've liked all their previous stuff. I think they needed to cut back the humor by 50% in this movie. Because it... Like, I think it adds to the stakes where I'm just like, all right, well, you guys are just having a fun space adventure. You're not like, we need to save the world now. Like, we need to save both of our worlds now. And it felt like we were just kind of doing a fun, like, hey, let's go to this thing and we'll watch Rocky because you're a rock. You get that?
Yeah.
And we'll do this and it's cool. And it's like, not like, a lot of the jokes worked for me and it was fun and it was charming and sweet between these characters, but it was just kind of, it diminished a lot of the stakes that I felt in this movie. Mm-hmm. So, between the length of the movie, between the kind of third act where it just felt like it reached a natural point, and like, I don't know, just hearing you talk about the book, I would have loved if they changed the ending of this movie a little bit or adjusted it. I know fans of the book would have been like, you can't fucking do that, but like, it's a movie, it's a different medium, do it, like, change it.
Adapt it.
Yeah, it's different, you don't need to do the same exact thing. Also, there is, kind of to get into some light spoilers, I suppose, Sandra Hüller's character, you learn more about her through the movie, how she kind of, like, forced Ryan Gosling to go on this ship, and you get it interspliced with these flashbacks throughout the movie of Ryland Grace being, you know, he starts out waking up on the ship, doesn't know who he is, and kind of starts to remember some things, and then we get flashbacks of him going through this project, and you find out that Sandra Hüller basically like forced him to get on this ship and was like, you're our last hope, you have to get on here. And I'm like, that's really interesting. And then we never do anything more with it. And I was like, looking back on the movie and in earlier scenes, I think it helps a little bit with her character, because I do like her and I like her character, but overall I was just kind of like, oh, okay, this is the last 20 minutes that we're figuring this out. We know that he gets on the ship. Okay, like, he's there and like, you're not a great person overall, like, that's interesting, but I guess I wanted more with it, and I think maybe you restructure the movie a little bit to give more time to sit with that and see her character more after that moment. Because I think we'd seen everything before then, and even in context, like I said, I think it can work fine. But it just felt like also this, she's not good. I'm like, okay, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like that scene specifically, I told Corey, there is one aspect of this movie, as a fan of the book, as a fan of the movie, pisses me off the most, and it is the scene where he gets drugged. In the scene in the book, it's played serious, as it should be. Why is it being played for a joke in that scene? Why is he running away, standing on a countertop, kicking and screaming? Like, that's not... It immediately makes him a coward. Which, like, that is an aspect of his character. He's like, guys, I don't have this bravery thing that all you other scientists that are willing to make this sacrificial suicide mission out into interstellar space, like, I don't have that trait. And then, where in the book, it's played like he still gets drugged. The same stuff happens. It's just in this film, it's represented with a joke of like him running away and like, oh no, yeah, he's on the lawn. Yeah, no, he's running. Like, that shouldn't be funny. That is the one time Sandra Hüller should be serious, stone cold, which she is throughout the entire movie, but that moment needs to be taken seriously. I think that is a fundamental flaw of, just to kind of speak of the adaptation of this film. Where I also think the humor, it's a lot. The humor doesn't bother me. There is a lot of humor. It doesn't bother me. But it does make you lose sight of the stakes of this film.
Yep.
That, like, we have a ticking clock. Our son is going to die. Not that it's going to die right now, but every moment we waste means that years from now, more people are going to die. Starvation's going to set in sooner. Like, people are going to fight over resources that are left. There's an aspect in the book where they have to enhance global warming or speed along global warming by blowing up part of the Arctic ice caps to kind of make the Earth warm so that the astrophage has more to eat. And I'm like, that's such good sci-fi. That's so good. It's so smart. They don't touch on that in the book, or in the movie. Fine, they don't touch on that. That's okay. But we're missing aspects that really show us a good viewpoint into like what's going on Earth. What are they experiencing right now? Which, like, even if things aren't setting in, you could build up terror and like the paranoia or the horror or the suspicion of things aren't right. Things are going to get worse. Like, we need more mass hysteria of what's going on Earth, because otherwise there's no stakes. And then we get to have a scene that's not in the book and a scene that in the movie I don't love, it's fine, where Grace goes onto Rocky's ship. You don't need that. Cut that out. I need to know that you guys are busting your ass to get this thing solved, as opposed to like, show me your ship. Let me go see. You guys don't have time for this right now. I'm fine with some of the moments because there's some really good lines and lines that hit me the hardest where when it's Rocky and Grace sitting down and he's like, oh, you have a mate? Like, how long have you guys been together? Like, that stuff worked for me. It's not really in the book, but I loved it in the movie. I think that we lose a sense of these are dire circumstances. We need to act fast. There's also moments where I'm like, it's really convenient and just like Rocky saves Grace after he hits his head kind of hard. And then Rocky is burnt, but then he comes back to life. And it's just like, okay, like, I knew he was going to come back to life. Even if I didn't read the book, I knew he's not dead. Like, it's so over the top, like, basic in its storytelling and what it's trying to kind of keep from the audiences that it's just like, yeah, I know he's fine. He's okay. I don't believe for a second he's actually dead. I still think the ending is goofy. The ending in the book, he goes to Arid. He lives on Arid. He teaches a class of Iridians, people that look like Rocky or aliens that look like Rocky. And they all the ending of the book is he's like, he asks a question, they all raise their hand, end of the book. In the movie, you get that, and I'm like, it's still too goofy to me. Like, I've never liked that ending in the book. I'm like, I'd rather them adapt it a little bit. You can have him go and save Rocky. You can have him help him get back to Arid. You can have him solve that issue, whatever. But, like, him living on Arid, I'm like, the amount of time, the amount of science that would have to go into solving this kind of off-Earther, or off-Arid, like, inhabitant coming down to this planet and now being able to live a full life, like, what goes into that? How long did that take? Like, there's just a lot of questions there that the movie doesn't have to answer, but I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing? I think the biggest issue I have with this movie is it's not long. Not long enough. They rush through things. Granted, the pacing isn't great, but I think, similar to, like, how I view Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, which I would not have thought I'd bring up during Project Hail Mary, which also just celebrated a 10-year anniversary this past March, which isn't that fucking weird. I saw that with Kyler Somvong and like Tanner McIntyre in high school, and I was just like, wow, this movie's not good.
Civil War also.
Civil War would have been 10 years old. Yeah.
Ugh.
Crazy. But in Batman Dawn of Justice, that movie feels so long. But then which the movie's like, what, 2.5 hours? When you get the 3-hour-long cut, the ultimate cut, it's paced better. Story elements work better. I think that this film is missing fundamental aspects of the story and of establishing the dire circumstances of including more views of Earth and building out more of that Talmiba fuel scare that they have in the latter moments of this film that lead to Grace going to find Rocky. You're missing aspects of that, and I think if you build out this story a little bit more, you elongate the story. I remember the original screenings that were shown to audiences were 3 hours and 45 fucking minutes. This movie's 2 hours and 36. We'd cut it down an hour and 9 minutes. Put him back in. It's fine. Like, Interstellar's a long fucking movie. I don't give a shit. Give me a good story. Give me a complete story. Give me something that doesn't waver on its pacing or on its circumstances or on its kind of implications. Like, give me something strong here. That's a lot of negative. I still really like this movie. The first time I saw it, I couldn't help but compare it to the book, and I guess a lot of my kind of complaints have been a lot of comparisons back to the book, but on the second viewing, the emotional moments worked better for me in this film, and it's not even the moments where Rocky's like, yeah, you can have some of my fuel, get back to Earth, you live. And he's just like, really? Like, that scene, like, the scenes that hit me are the moments of just sheer awe. Like, when he's looking over the planet and it snaps to the infrared and it's pink, and you hear, like, the score seep in, and like, or him, like, they're going fishing. Like, there are moments that just, like, visually made me choked up. The movie itself, or the line when he's like, you've been with your partner for 186 years, damn, honeymoon phase. He's like, I don't understand. And he's like, it's a long time. And he's like, not long enough. And I'm like, damn, okay, fuck, that's good. Emotional beats worked better for me. The humor kind of fell away a little bit to where in the first time I saw it, I was like, it's a lot. Now I'm just like, it's there, it's good, but it does still, regardless, strip away at some of the dire straits, the issues that are to be had, like the implications of what's going to happen if we don't act fast. I also think one positive that I think is absolute bullshit people throw at this is the science. Oh, this movie is really scientific. It has all the science jargon. It does not. You see him write shit on a whiteboard. Does he talk about what that is? No. He maths it out. He does the equations. He solves these problems, but we don't understand as an audience what's going on. He just then gives it to us via voiceover. I'm like, the science in this movie is made way too accessible. It's dumbed down to an alarming degree where it's just like a 3-year-old can understand what happens in this fucking movie. Martian, there are things in that movie, even though they're kind of dumbing it down, I still don't 100% get, but like, fine, I can get it for the movie's sake. This movie, they dumb it down to where I'm like, anyone can understand this. This is not easy. This is not hard. It's so accessible that it's nothing. So I think that the science in this science fiction film, while you have good concepts of the sun dying, these astrophages collecting Talmiba, all this shit, I think it's still glossed over. And it's dumbified way too much. Like, it's way too basic. Sandra Hüller's great. That scene where he gets drugged is an eyesore to me. I'm like, why the fuck would that be a joke? And it kind of ends on a moment where Carl's talking to him and he's like, you'll do great. And I'm like, that hits, but why am I laughing before that point? I do like that Carl is not a character really in the book. He is outside and he gives Ryland Grace like one thing, and I'm like, I actually really like, in terms of adaptation, elongating that interaction, that relationship between those two characters. It works. But I spoke way too much about this movie. I like it more on a rewatch. The book is still king, and I don't know if I'd feel that way if I had read the book first or watched the movie first or whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. I think that this film, in terms of adapting the book, it does an okay job. Not a great job. And I think that the movie as a whole is really good. It could have been great. And I think if someone with Drew Goddard or someone who is directing this that doesn't have such a comedic timing linked to all their filmography handled the adaptation, it probably would have been done a little bit better.
To speak on the character of Carl real quick, he's played by Lionel Boyce, who's in The Bear. He plays Marcus in The Bear.
Oh, yeah.
And I love him as a character, so it was great to see him pop up, and That was honestly like some of my favorite stuff from the first chunk of the movie was them like on Earth trying to figure out this astrophage, and they're like, all right, well, we need to like capture it and study it and all this stuff. That was going to Home Depot and getting like just duct tape and shit.
Put this chamber into a bigger chamber, and then them wheeling the crate in. I'm like, oh, okay, this is good.
It was fun. Also, AT&T girl Milana Vaintrub is in this movie. I know
wasted.
You're a huge fan of her.
She is. Allie, turn it off. She's one of the most attractive women ever to live, and AT&T did her a disservice by not putting her on every single marketing thing ever. She is so attractive.
I had to shout that out.
She's also very underutilized in this. The crew itself is kind of underutilized, which it kind of works in the movie where it does really, like, it raises the level and the amount of time dedicated to the specific characters we really need to latch onto. So it works for the adaptation. Selfishly, I'm like, there's some really funny aspects of Alicia, I couldn't say her last name if I wanted to, but the other partners on this voyage, the other crew members, I'm like, there's more time spent with them that I'm like, probably could have made them actual characters in this movie.
So yeah, this is a very interesting movie because this has been just hyped up so much as the best movie of the year and one of the best movies of the decade. It's not my favorite movie of the year. There's other movies that I like more than this, and I think this movie is good. I like this movie. I want to get that across, that I enjoyed watching this movie. Again, I would recommend this movie. There are visuals, like you mentioned, that I will never forget. Especially the green Adrian planet, him floating out in space, and then when it cuts to that pink, when they're doing their kind of experiment thing or whatever, it's beautiful. It looks fucking fantastic. So there's so many of the technical elements of this movie I loved. Ryan Gosling, we didn't really touch on him much. I think he's good in the movie.
Fantastic.
He's doing his Ryan Gosling thing.
Yeah, he's still like charismatic.
It's not like a different character. It's not like a Drive or something. He's Ryan Gosling is charming. It's overall enjoyable. I don't like. I guess I don't understand the hype. I don't know that the story warrants the hype and the generational movie that it's getting. Like, I don't know. It doesn't. It's surprising to me that this is the movie that's really connected with people. I'm glad that it is. I'm glad people are seeing it. Go see it again in theaters because I love people are supporting this original movie. But it's just surprising that it's like, this is the one where I'm like, it's good. Like, there's nothing to the story where I'm like, this changed my life. Like, I like it. It's fun. Yeah. I think it's too long. I think that the tone is all over the place. The ending, there's just a few things I didn't care for, but overall, I like the movie. I'd probably give it in the range of a B to B+. I don't know. It's been a very interesting experience of like having seen the reactions and then kind of being behind a week on it and hearing your thoughts on it and everything. Yeah. So go see it though. Make up your own mind about what you think about it because I think it is worth seeing in theaters for sure.
Yeah, I think on a first viewing, I probably would have given it like a B. I'm now in like the B+ A- range. Like, I still really like the movie. I have some like head-scratching issues with it. Would I have a lot of these issues if I hadn't read the book? Well, a lot of the issues I have are issues that you have, and you hadn't read the book. So I'm like, okay, so I'm happy that you and I at least, while I might like the movie a little bit more than you, we still agree on a lot of these things, and I'm happy that I have you to kind of pinball off of like you not having the book as a fallback, as like a guide as to how good of an adaptation this is. So it's just nice to kind of be able to talk it out. And I feel like those are some of the best conversations we get to have, are the movies that we don't like 100% love because then it's just us glazing a fucking movie, or a movie that we hate and it's just me yelling about Lydia Tarr, which I now like that movie. Yeah. But with this movie, like, it's so good, but it could have been better. Like, there's things that could have been improved on. So I will say the one piece of humor, or the joke in this film that worked a lot for me, both in the book and in the movie, probably more so in the movie, is when he's like, is that a ship? And then just the way they're moving in space and scooting along, I'm like, that's fucking hilarious to watch.
I really like Fist My Bump.
Fist My Bump, that's good stuff. That's good in the book too. It works really well, but I like the voice that they went with for Rocky. A lot of people were like, they could have picked anything else, or they could have done a better voice. I like how just like kind of charming and like almost young. It just felt young and kind of naive a little bit. But
James
I liked
Ortiz,
it.
shout out to him. He did a great job.
But definitely go check it out. I might see it for a third time. I might try and bring my wife. I hope that, similar to The Martian, when this film comes out on physical media, please give me a saucy steelbook that I can buy and don't have to try and find someone to make me a steelbook that upsets me. Give me a good steelbook, but also give me an extended version. Give me an extended cut similar to The Martian. Give me 20 minutes longer, because I don't like, this movie is kind of long, but I think the pacing and the feeling of it being long could be kind of smoothed over with dedicating more time to certain aspects of the story and just kind of balancing it out, as opposed to like, 15 minutes are left, let's introduce this conflict. It's like, no, the movie's like winding down, stop it.
Yeah.
But go check it out. I'm excited to see it again. A movie that I bought a couple of weeks ago, I think I mentioned, was Red Eye, film from Wes Craven. It is a 4K Blu-ray that I bought a number of weeks ago, but I have been having it sit on my shelf. It was really late last night, and then I'm like, wait, I want to watch a movie. I haven't seen anything, aside from the 3 movies I saw in theaters this week. I haven't watched anything at home, and I have a big stack of movies that are just kind of accumulating, films I've never seen that I need to see that I now currently own. Red Eye being one of those. It is directed by Wes Craven, who's the director of a lot of stuff, the Scream franchise, as well as Nightmare on Elm Street, stuff like that. He's a big horror icon. I love him. This film stars Rachel McAdams, Cillian Murphy, Brian Cox. It's from 2005, so I was 5 years old, so I didn't watch it when it came out. It follows Lisa, played by McAdams, on her flight to Miami, who befriends Jackson, played by Cillian Murphy, who turns out to be a terrorist. Holding her hostage, he forces her to help him assassinate the United States Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. Lisa, Rachel McAdams' character, is the manager of this kind of hotel in the Miami area where this Deputy Secretary is going to be staying, so that's kind of how they find themselves in this interaction as they sit next to each other on a flight, and we find out increasingly more information about Cillian Murphy and his overarching plan and what he's setting out to do. I honestly, after reading that synopsis to you, I wish I didn't, just because I went into this movie relatively blind. I knew that Cillian Murphy wasn't like a trustworthy character, but saying that and knowing all that and reading it in the synopsis, I'm like, that's too much to know. It's kind of fun just letting this movie kind of reveal itself. This is a nice 85-minute thriller that mostly takes place on a plane or in an airport, and it really works. It feels like something I would have caught on like AMC, on the AMC channel or like FX as a kid. I really enjoyed this movie. It's not my favorite Wes Craven movie, but oh my god.
Oh, nice.
I got another one. It went away.
Been a high life.
The performances are great. Brian Cox is a little underutilized, just knowing how great he is now and seeing him in more stuff now. I'm like, God, I love you. But he's great. It's also just interesting seeing Cillian Murphy in a role where he smiles. In this movie, he smiles a lot, and I'm like, I'm just used to you being so stoic and sad and everything. So it's just kind of weird. Rachel McAdams, if she's in a movie about a plane wreck or her on a plane, go check it out. Whether it's this or Send Help, both great films. This is a good little thriller. It's a bit unpredictable, and it's a cat and mouse game when the cat and mouse are sitting next to each other on a plane and trying to outsmart one another. It works really well. It's really tightly paced. Again, it being 85 minutes, there's not a lot of fat on this movie. There's nothing I could really take out of it. And there's not a lot I'd add to it. I think that the story justifies its runtime, and it was a good time. My wife and I watched it in bed, and she's like, why do you make me watch movies that are stressful? I'm like, every movie has a conflict. Almost every movie has a conflict. Just get over it. You'll be fine. And if you're too stressed, just remind yourself it's a movie. And then you're not stressed.
Yep.
But I really like this movie. It's a great kind of later film in Wes Craven's repertoire, so I really enjoyed watching it, and I'd recommend it to you. I know you'll probably see it or watch it.
I was going to say, maybe you leave, if you don't mind, leave this Blu-ray for me this week. I've wanted to watch this for a long time. Speaking of Send Help, that's still my favorite movie of this year. I love that movie.
So, okay, I meant to ask you that. Where would you kind of put Project Hail Mary? I don't know how many movies you've seen from 2026 this year, but would it be towards the top, bottom? Is there a number that you have?
The top, for sure. Send Help's my favorite. The Peaky Blinders, Immortal Man is probably number 2. Okay. Project Hail Mary is probably 3 or 4, kind of in that range. Yeah, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die is up there for me still. I really like that movie. But, yeah, not to like go back to this too much, but like both with 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, and Project Hail Mary, I feel like both had such crazy, huge reactions where everyone's like, this is a game changer, and I watched them like, okay, it's fine. I like it. But anyways, Red Eye. I do want to watch that. I'll probably actually watch that this week if you leave me that Blu-ray.
Yeah, so. I will. For me, I'd say Bone Temple is my favorite of this year, and then Project Hail Mary is number 2. But I have more issues with Project Hail Mary than I do with Bone Temple. Bone Temple, I almost have no notes. It's just that one barn scene where it's like something happens, and then people react when the camera allows us to see them react. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But I think a pretty good start to the year for a big year of 2026 that we have to look forward to, especially going into the summer here. And going into this week, even, as we have a bigger release animated film that I think everyone is excited about. I mean, if you didn't like the first Super Mario movie, like, what were you wanting from it? Is my whole argument. I'm like, what did you want this to be? And I think most of the like average film goers really enjoyed that film. But we have this week, actually weirdly enough, coming out on April Fool's Day, Wednesday, this upcoming week, Super Mario Galaxy movie. Or the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Too many words for a sequel to the Super Mario movie. But this is coming from the same directorial team. Has Anya Taylor-Joy, Chris Pratt, Jack Black, Brie Larson, Benny Safdie, Donald Glover, Charlie Day, Keegan-Michael Key, a stacked cast for voice characters or voice actors. Donald Glover will be playing, Yoshi, which is really sick. And Benny Safdie is, Bowser Jr. or whatever?
Yeah.
Little Bowser, Baby Bowser?
I also saw something this week, and maybe I'm just behind on Mario stuff, because I'm a very casual Mario Kart, and, played Mario World with Mario Party with people. But Glenn Powell's voicing Fox McCloud? I don't know.
That was the thing that I should have put on here. 100% he is.
I don't remember. I don't know who that character is. I mean, is that a new character?
No, Super Smash Bros. Look up Fox McCloud. He's
Star
Fox.
I've seen the pictures. Oh, okay. I didn't know that's
yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah, Star
okay.
Fox, which I didn't know he was in this movie, and I also heard rumblings that Sonic might even be in this movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting.
Nice.
So I don't know the lengths of the galaxy for Super Mario Galaxy, but I'm interested to see it. It is the continuation of that story. Mario ventures into space, exploring cosmic worlds and tackling galactic challenges far from the familiar Mushroom Kingdom. I can't wait. The first one's fun. I'm excited to see this movie, and me and my wife are probably going to try and check it out sometime this week. Also, good counter-programming to that film coming out this week. We have The Drama, a new A24 film coming out, directed by Christopher Borgli. He's the director of, most recently, Dream Scenario, which is a very interesting, weird movie with Nicolas Cage, which I completely forgot about until we brought it up last week in preparation of writing these show notes. This is a film starring Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, and it's just this happily engaged couple is put to the test when an unexpected turn sends their wedding week off the rails. I've seen the trailers kind of gradually reveal a little bit more and more, but there's that main question as to what did Zendaya do? What's wrong? What's the conflict here between these two? As this happy relationship is just dwindling before they get married. I'm not the most excited about this movie. But I'll probably end up checking it out just because I really like the cast. And I'm interested by the director, and if it's the director of Dream Scenario, which is a really interesting, weird movie that has a lot of good humor in it, maybe this movie will be kind of in that same realm of just uncomfy laughs. I kind of like that with A24, and I think that they're good at that. Which, I feel like I know which one you're going to see first, but how do you feel about this upcoming release week?
I mean, yeah, I'll see Mario. It looks fun. Doing the Galaxy, Super Mario Galaxy games and stuff. That's such a great idea for a sequel. But the drama, I'm actually pretty excited for this one.
Okay.
The Zendaya and Robert Pattinson going back and forth.
Entire year.
That's awesome. And it also, I don't know if it has any similarities really, but it sort of reminds me of the movie Malcolm and Marie from a few years back with John David Washington and Zendaya. It was a married couple just having a conversation. I don't know if they're, just from the synopsis alone, I guess it kind of reminds me of that. But yeah, I'm down for that. It's a great cast, and I'm excited to check out what they're doing.
Yeah, moving into a physical media roundup. I bought a lot of shit last week. This week I've bought a little bit less. I was originally just planning on not buying anything, but then while bored at work, started looking up Oscar acceptance speeches from Best Actor winners. And Denzel Washington won for Training Day way back when in the early 2000s. And I was like, fuck, I've only seen that movie once. There's a saucy little 4K Blu-ray out there, so I bought that. And that is the only thing I added to my collection. Also with Michael B. Jordan being, the sixth African-American man to win Best Actor or an acting category award. I'm like, fine, why not? I'll check out Training Day again. It's a movie that I've always liked but never really, loved. So I'm hopeful that it'll improve on a rewatch.
I don't know why I remember this specifically, but in the last Black Friday when Best Buy was still selling movies, Training Day was on sale for $5 on 4K, and I got it with a slipcover, and we were there together, and I was like, oh, there's another one, do you want it? And you're like, no, I'm good.
Oh, now I just put $15 on it.
I don't know why that sticks in my head, but I do. Anyways, it's a great movie.
As I did order this online, it came with a slip, and the slip is in great condition.
Perfect.
So I'm thrilled by that because that doesn't happen.
No, I love that movie. It's awesome. Coming out this week, one movie that I will for sure be buying on Tuesday is Marty Supreme, my favorite movie from last year. Also, the A24 release has a 4K and Blu-ray in the same release, because normally they just do either a 4K or a Blu-ray. As there's street racing going on outside, I guess just Tokyo Drift fucking happening.
It's nice outside.
You guys probably hear it every episode. It's just our great quality.
It's that or the sirens. We don't do anything really for soundproofing in here.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. We're not going to do that. we don't have the following for that yet. Yeah. Anyways, Marty Supreme, very excited to buy that movie. Also, the SpongeBob movie, Search for SquarePants, and then Greenland 2 Migration coming out. So, Marty Supreme, I'm pumped to buy that and rewatch it.
I think, honestly, just moving forward, if you're going to put a chokehold on the number of physical movie releases you put out as a studio, just combine them. Just do a 4K Blu-ray. Just do a 4K Blu-ray for everything. And
that's less cases you have to make. That's, I don't know, it makes
if you're
more
so
sense.
worried about people not buying and having just like an overload or just way too much product, then just combine them and do one release and you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, into the trailers released this week. First, I'll mention The End of Oak Street, which is David Robert Mitchell's new movie. He's the director of It Follows. This is a really cool, weird little trailer that a dinosaur pops up at the end of it, which I didn't know happened, but...
With Ewan McGregor and Hathaway.
Really good cast.
Set maybe in like the 60s or 70s.
Just in like this neighborhood. The neighborhood's like disappearing.
Yeah.
Cool concept. Really good trailer. I'm excited to check that one out for sure.
Is this one produced by J.J. Abrams?
Yes, it is.
Because it has that feel to it of it being like a little bit of like a question mark sandboxy J.J. Abrams.
Mystery box.
Box,
You'll see that little bad robot logo at the beginning of this movie.
Him
going through the
flicking
fucking field.
Oh yeah, I love that. When he snaps in. And,
Shit's great. But the biggest trailer this week was for the Harry Potter show on HBO Max. And this is coming out on December 2026, so later this year. And kind of interestingly, it's called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which famously, that was the name of the movie, but then for America, they're like, they don't know what philosophers are, let's call it the Sorcerer's Stone.
Isn't it the name of the book, though, too? Isn't it also...
Same deal, where like in America, they released it, but like Sorcerer's Stone for whatever. But interesting, because most like TV seasons don't really have titles individually. The last one I can think of is True Detective Night Country instead of season 4.
Yeah.
But like not a lot. It's normally just like season 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, whatever.
The season 2 of True Detective, because season 1 has like the long, bright, dark. Doesn't it?
That's one of the episodes.
That's one of the episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe never mind. I don't know shit. But yeah, that is interesting. I'm guessing that if they're setting that up or establishing that now, that they're just going to name every subsequent season the name of the book.
Which, yeah, it makes sense. Like, it's just kind of an interesting note on that. But I'm a huge fan of Harry Potter. I've got all the movies over there. And
why'd you get Lord of the Rings out this week?
Well, because we're going to
talk about that. I forgot about that.
Fucking idiot.
I am foreshadowing.
Don't jump the gun, bitch.
I jumped the gun.
But anyways, I love Harry Potter. I grew up watching. I read all the books. I love watching the movies. Within that case, actually, if you open that, there is a little card in there that somebody got me from Universal of the frogs, the chocolate frogs, and it's who's in it? Who is in that?
Daisy Dotteridge?
Oh, nice.
Daisy Dotteridge?
Yeah. My buddy got me this one of these chocolate frog cards, so I put it in my Harry Potter 8 movie collection Blu-ray for the audio listeners. But yeah, I grew up loving the books, loving the movies, and the Fantastic Beasts movies. The first one actually pretty good. I like that movie. The other one's not very good. What I will say about this show is that if there had never been any Harry Potter movies ever made before, a show would be a great idea to adapt these stories, because I think a season format for each book would work really well. So I'm not 100% opposed to the show, but it is just coming off of 8 movies that I think generally a lot of people are like, those are good and they work overall. Even if like some movies people are like, that one didn't work for me as much, but as those 8 movie saga, like that tells the story so well. And I think the trailer, just to speak on the show itself and this little kind of snippet we got, it looks fine, but it doesn't have quite like the magic of at least Christopher Columbus in those first 2 movies, where it's like Hogwarts feels so special, and it's like just when you walk into the like dining room or the dining hall and you see all the tables and the floating candles, you're like, as a kid, you're just like, whoa, this is so cool. Yeah. And Quidditch is awesome and everything feels so magical. This feels very like grounded and kind of realistic in a way, which again, it can work. I don't want to judge anything until I see it, but I think the kids casting looks fine. That's kind of a big part of this, obviously. I think the Dominic McLaughlin looks good as Harry, and I like the little cap of the trailer where Ron's like, "Are you actually Harry Potter?" And he just kind of like smiles and nods at him. That's a good little like Harry moment. I like that. So I'm very curious about it. I don't know. I need to see it more, but I like the Christmas release of it. That feels right for Harry Potter, but we'll see.
Yeah, I've never read the books. I've only ever seen the Harry Potter movies. I like the majority of the movies. My least favorite films of the franchise are those earlier two where they're children and they're made by Christopher Columbus. But the thing I like about the Columbus movies is that they're very brightly colored. Then you get into Prisoner of Azkaban, that third film, that shifts to a darker look and a darker feel, and that carries on throughout the rest of the franchise. I was missing that in this trailer. Everything just looks kind of muted. Like, everything's kind of gray. Like, it looks really modern, and it does look a little bit more grounded, but I want more of that fantastical, that bright, that vibrant color that you get in those first couple of Christopher Columbus movies. Even though those are my least favorite of the franchise. What's your favorite Harry Potter film?
Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah,
but I also think Order of the Phoenix is very underrated. That's my number 2.
Is that with Umbridge?
Yeah, Umbridge. Sirius Black is maybe my favorite Harry Potter character, and I think Harry and Sirius dynamic is great.
Umbridge is one of the most unlikable characters in anything ever. I can't stand her.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's terrible.
But she's a great villain, so it works. But I think that the trailer looks good. It already looks like it's hinting at things that, as someone who didn't read the books, is exploring stuff that I don't know about, and maybe we'll see more of Hagrid with Harry, or more of Harry's backstory with his, I forget what his family's name is, found family that kind of takes him in and makes him live the Dursleys, where it lives underneath the staircase. I'm like, maybe we'll get more of that dynamic, whereas in the movies I feel like we're kind of restrained from that. But, I mean, as someone who's not, like, chomping at the bits to get this show out, I might check it out now. Like, it looks pretty good. It looks competently helmed. I like the casting so far. Nick Frost as Hagrid, I think, is really good. I like John Lithgow as Dumbledore, that quick little snippet you see of him in the trailer, so...
What do you think about Black Snape? You have thoughts on that?
I don't really care. I don't know. Actually, okay, the one thing that... So, again, I didn't read the books. The one thing I do know is that Snape is not as old as Alan Rickman is in the movies, so at least this is, like... Whether you give a shit if he's black or not, that's your own fucking problem. But the fact that he's more in line with the age demographic, that's cool. Sure, I don't care.
The only thing, people have a lot of thoughts on this, but we're not going to talk.
That was, people were fucking losing their marbles over this.
Your brother sent me some reels about it, which is hilarious.
I can tell you which brother.
The only thing I'll say is that in the books, Snape is described as a pale, wiry, slimy guy. And just from the look of the trailer, that's not what he looks like. So it's kind of disappointing because, like, Alan Rickman definitely has that weaselly look. I feel like Adam Driver would have been a sweet choice.
Adam Driver would be a good choice for Snape, but I think it's probably in their best interest to deviate so much from Alan Rickman. Because, like, you're going to be compared to Alan Rickman the entire time you're on screen. It's like, whether he is really good or really bad, like, fine, whatever. But no matter what, all of these actors are going to be compared to their predecessors. So I think by setting such a different kind of trajectory, picking a different actor that maybe looks different, maybe is a different age, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter, really. It doesn't change anything about the character. Like, so what, Snape's black? Does it change anything of how he acts? No. Like, it's not going to affect anything in the story. I'm more interested to see, by doing that and having such a hard stroke difference between these two portrayals, maybe that will help people be able to kind of justify a difference, or be able to, like, I can appreciate both because they are different, or vice versa. I don't know. But the one thing that I'm starting to already think is that while I do like seeing Hagrid, and while I liked seeing John Lithgow as Dumbledore, it's already going to be hard because I'm like, the costuming looks so similar to what we've already seen that I'm like, how different can this be? Aside from giving us more story, like, visually, this already kind of looks similar. I'm excited to see how they handle Quidditch, especially with kind of the VFX kind of picking up and getting better, even though it is a TV show. It's HBO Max, so it's going to look good. I'm interested to see how this turns out, but I think, similar to what you said, a show of Harry Potter, if movies never came out, that is probably the best way to adapt these books. You have more time to really dedicate a whole season to a whole year at Hogwarts with these characters. That makes sense, that works. But it's gonna have to go and prove that it should be a thing, I feel like, when it's like, well, we have, again, similar to what you said, 8 movies that people largely look at as being good and like, and whether you're a fan of the books or not, you like. So I'm excited. I think the casting's great. I can't wait for the show, I guess. I don't know if I'll be checking it out, whether they do a week-to-week release or not, but I'm sure at some point I'll see at least the first couple of seasons, and if it's good, I'll carry on or not. But
hopefully they get these seasons out at a good pace, because the kids are obviously aging. That's a big part with the movies, and Stranger Things we saw. It's like, you got to do...
I feel like you got to do it like every year. Every year, if you're establishing Christmas as your release, then you got to put out a full season every year or year and a half. Or
it's gonna be tough. I feel like, just with the budget of these things and how much
these kids are gonna be working.
Yeah, for real, through the ringer.
Yeah.
Some other movie news things. We have the next Jumanji movie coming out. Whether you want to call it 3 or 4, if you want to include Zathura in there, whatever. You can count all the whatever the fucking things you want.
Include Zathura.
And I talked about that recently. The movie's fucking awesome. But it pushed back its release date, so it's going to be after Doomsday, which we'll see if that works out for him. I don't know. I feel like before may have been a better call. I feel like after, it's going to be Dune and Avengers repeat viewings for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We'll see. But anyways, I'm actually kind of excited for that movie. I really like Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and The Next Level. I think those are pretty fun. I love the original Jumanji, obviously. So yeah, I'm excited for that one. To speak on the Lord of the Rings thing that you tried to talk about earlier, you fucking asshole. But Warner Brothers announced that a new Lord of the Rings film is coming from what's the date today? March 29th. Almost recently fired Stephen Colbert. He's done in a couple months. He'll be not doing much.
Is he fired, or is his show just coming to it? He's not fired.
Well, I mean,
I like Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, I don't like any late night hosts. That's the thing about me, I guess. I just don't care for any of their comedy. But they're ending his show, I should say, on CBS. He's not coming back. But anyways, him and his son are adapting some unused chapters from Fellowship of the Ring to follow a story that it takes place 14 years later, after Return of the King. Follows Sam, Merry, and Pippin retracing their steps, and kind of a hidden secret tied to the War of the Ring. That's really cool. One thing I do know about Stephen Colbert is he's a huge Lord of the Rings fan. He's talked about it on so many interviews and with so many of the cast members, and Peter Jackson kind of helped with a little announcement video for this too. And I mean, that's an interesting idea for a story, and there's obviously a lot of stuff from the Lord of the Rings books that wasn't adapted in the movies. Again, you just don't have time to do all that. So I think it could be cool. We're getting, this and the Hunt for Gollum movie. I'll be curious to see if both of these work, or if it is just a cash grab, just kind of to be like, Lord of the Rings, pump more stuff out, or if it's actually a meaningful addition to this franchise. Just knowing how big of a fan Stephen Colbert is, I feel like this one may be a little bit more meaningful than Hunt for Gollum.
I think having Andy Serkis as the creative lead, I feel like, for Hunt for Gollum also kind of speaks to all right, well, hopefully they learned their lessons from pumping out 3 films about The Hobbit when The Hobbit is 200 and something odd pages long. It's how the fuck did you do that?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they're all right, we see what The Hobbit did to this franchise. Everyone loves that first trilogy. Not a lot of people really care much for that second trilogy. We need to win people over again, but also I think returning to some of the source material, especially with Fellowship and some of those kind of explored chapters from that first book, would be really cool. Something a little bit more contemplative of post Frodo, the crew after him, and not that they're the lesser known, but Frodo is the leader of that pack, and now we get to spend more time with Merry, Pippin, and Sam, hopefully. So I like the idea of it. Stephen Colbert having an encyclopedic knowledge of Lord of the Rings is everything I wish I could with anything, but I can't because I have no patience. But I think having someone that's such a diehard in on it could still be shit, but at least the intention and the work behind the screens, I feel like you're going to feel the love for this material when it comes to fruition. If it comes to fruition, I've seen some people speculate, we're getting this news as Paramount is acquiring Warner Brothers. Will they have to cut stuff? What might we lose in that transition? Could this be one of those things? But I'm starting to get excited for Hunt for Gollum, especially with the announcement we talked about a couple weeks ago of Kate Winslet joining the cast. I'm fuck yeah, hell yeah. But yeah, I'm not the biggest diehard Lord of the Rings movie fan. I love the first 2 films, and I shruggingly like Return of the King, which I feel like is pretty opposite of most people. But I'm optimistic with new Lord of the Rings films, and I'm hoping that they learn their lessons from the Hobbit films, even though I do really like Desolation of Smaug. That movie's kind of awesome.
The Hobbit could have been 2 good movies.
2 good movies. Yeah.
There's too much. I like most of Unexpected Journey. Desolation of Smaug is definitely the best. Battle of the Five Armies, you can trim that a lot.
You can trim that to 30 minutes.
Yeah, I don't need a full battle. You can give me a little bit of that. But anyways, yeah, I'm curious about that. The last thing we have is that there's a reboot of 13 going on 30, which I've never seen before, but it's Jennifer Garner and Mark Ruffalo, right?
Yep.
Okay, so Jennifer Garner is coming back to executive produce it. Emily Bader and Logan Lerman are going to star in it. I'm excited to watch the original one and then watch this whenever it comes out. I don't know that they set a release date or anything, but just kind of a interesting little bit as everything is getting rebooted and remade these days.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Devil Wears Prada 2 coming out soon too, which I'm excited for that film, and I like the first Devil Wears Prada. I really like 13 Going on 30. That is like a chick flick that very of its era of that early 2000s. Like, it has that feel, but it's a movie that I grew up watching with my mom. My mom loves this movie a lot. And it was always on like FX a lot too. I watched that channel religiously growing up, apparently. I watched a lot of movies on that for the first time. But 13 Going on 30, I really like it. It's charming. It's a little forgettable, but it's a charming concept of like, what if this 13-year-old was magically 30 and now she has to figure out how to live life and how to be an adult. And then Mark Ruffalo is being charming. Like, I don't need a sequel to this. There's not like, I don't need a sequel to a lot of movies that come out, I feel like. But I'd check this out if it can kind of build off of the potential that Devil Wears Prada 2 has, or like a Freakier Friday had. I'm like, yeah, I don't see why not. I don't need all these long legacy sequels and reboots of things, but if it's good, then fine. If it's bad, then I'm going to say you shouldn't have done it. I don't know. Hindsight's 20/20, but it's an interesting idea. I never would have guessed. Like, is anyone clamoring for this?
Yeah.
Probably not. So we'll see how this turns out. I love Jennifer Garner, though, and the fact that she's returning to executive produce is kind of cool. So it's kind of exciting. Anyways, that's going to be it for today. I bet an hour and 10. I don't know if that's 100% true on how long this episode actually ran, but regardless, thanks for joining us for another episode of Slate Night, the Film Fan Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more in-depth movie reviews and movie news. In film, it's not just about what's on screen, it's also about who's next to you in the theater.
For Mason and I at Slate Night, that's a wrap.